Hello, 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 ladies, and thank you so much for joining the Get Your Guy Coaching podcast. I have two very special guests today, clients Cheryl and Skye. Super happy that they're here. They're going to share with you their journey within the program, what they learned, what they love, what they didn't love so much, if they would recommend the program, just so that you can get a sense of what it really looks like to be a part of this program and to get your guide and the experiences of that as well. Because I just think that they can speak to it better than I ever could, because I'm the coach and they're the client. So, with that said, Cheryl, why don't you introduce yourself? And thank you for
Okay,
being here.
it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Um, my name is Cheryl. I sometimes go by Dr. G. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm happy
Where
to
you're
be here.
located, what you do, when you join the program.
Okay, gosh. Okay, I'm located in Southern California. I'm a doctor of pharmacy, and I've been in the program for probably 2 years now, but I'll qualify that by saying the first year was just on and off, struggling, just trying to learn myself. And then now it's all good. It's all great.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Sky, go ahead, girl.
Hi, my name is Skye. I'm in my mid 30s, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. I'm a manager in the HR field. And yeah, I've been in the program 2 years as well. Have again been on and off, but like I love my experience the first time around and happy to be back for a second go.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So, uh, let's get into it because you both said kind of on and off. Cheryl, do you want to talk a little bit about what that first year looked like, and then we'll go to Sky to talk about her on and off?
Sure. So I have to admit that I was listening to your podcast for about a year before I even booked the call to even join the program.
You and so many other girl, so many others.
So let's say 3 years, okay?
Uh-huh.
But that first year that I actually signed on, it was a lot of homework that was difficult for me, to be quite honest. And I was so just busy and distracted. It was difficult to focus on the program. So I like that it was self-paced and I can, go on and do something and then let that simmer a little bit and then um, live my life and then come back. But I also was just in the club at first, and I
That's
then
right.
I upgraded after a year because I realized my self-pacing wasn't working.
Right. The self-pacing was null and void. Uh,
Pretty much.
So yeah, I think that's a very important part. Like the GYG club is kind of self-paced in a group container, and then the VIP level is where you get the intimate environment, the personalized coaching, the one-on-ones on a weekly basis, which I think is super helpful in terms of accountability. And I'm assuming that that really helped you as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The one-on-one definitely helped, and the accountability, uh, that's what I need for the type of person and psychology that I have. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that accountability is wonderful.
I love it. Sky, what about you, girl?
Yeah, I would say when I joined, that was around August of 2023. Super excited. I signed up for the VIP program as well, and actually got my guy around maybe mm, early October-ish. And so super excited, but I think going into that relationship, one, the program worked so well. I don't know if I was fully tapping into, okay, how does this person fit me intellectually? Some of the other things that really stand out, he had all of the gentleman skills, boyfriend skills. But I think coming out of that relationship, I just realized how I wanted to match and connect with my person. So ultimately decided to end that relationship and then was single for about a year, but still would engage with your content in the Facebook group and stay connected that way, and actually kept putting myself out there and utilizing the skills you've taught us. Entered a second relationship earlier this year, and so that's why it's been about 2 years in the journey, but always just staying connected with the group, whether I had a guy or not.
Yeah. Well, talk to me a little bit about what dating looked like before the program for you all. And like, what was the thing that made you decide that you needed help? Sky, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so before this, my dating journey was very sporadic. I'd download apps, but I didn't really have a strategy, so I would just like try it out. with things like feel like things would fizzle out, not maybe go anywhere. And so I get frustrated and delete them. So I never stayed on them long or had a trajectory. And then outside of just the apps, I was very rarely engaging with men in person. So again, I would probably just say sporadic, not long standing. And so that's when I decided to get help because I knew I was just highly motivated to focus on dating, but I was investing in time in guys who presented well, but would very quickly turn nonchalant. So that's what it was for me.
Yeah. What about you, Cheryl?
For me, I would say that my dating life before this program was sporadic as well, but it would be like 2 years each person. And I would meet them in very random places. The most recent one before joining the program, it turned out to be abusive. And I didn't even know what boundaries were until I learned about them in couples counseling. We were together for like 2 years, and I thought, okay, this is harder than it should be, right?
Yeah.
But after we broke up, I adopted a dog, and the long walks with my dog became the perfect time for me to listen to the podcasts. And I did that for a year. And it was like the first step for me in just healing and rebuilding myself and learning boundaries. And after that, putting the boundaries in practice with the program. It's great.
Yeah. Well, our program has nothing but boundaries, honey. You can't go
Right, right.
one direction without a boundary up in here. And some would say we have too many boundaries, but I wouldn't change it, not one bit. Um, Talk to me about kind of your biggest mindset shift in the program. I know, Cheryl, you were just talking about boundaries. Would that be your biggest shift, or was it something else for you?
Well, I was working with the same counselor before with the boundaries. So I kind of was already working on that on just regular non-romantic relationships, like for work
Mhm.
and things like that. But I'll say the biggest mindset shift for me was realizing that I had to stop performing, like literally stop performing for love and approval.
But you're
And
also a
realize
performer. You're an artist.
I am I am an artist, but that's different. So that was something that I had to compartmentalize. So growing up as an overachiever, also, pursuing the doctorate degree, that's a lot of work. But I was measuring my worth from the degrees and the awards and the recognition. And in the program, this is something I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you do because you're great at memory. I saw that I was chasing validation through the male gaze. That was something you had said to me, and it was like, whoa. So as a performer, as a singer, you got to look cute, put your makeup
As a
on and
female singer.
everything.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Female entertainer, right? You're definitely getting you're catering to the audience, in a way. But you really helped me name that male gaze thing, in the personal and in romantic relationships. And I was seeking approval, and I had to let go of that need. And that was the biggest breakthrough for me. So I think that was why I was stuck in this cycle of relationships with no boundaries, because I would just kind of do a people pleasing thing. So that was the biggest mindset shift, is like, I'm a performer on stage, but I'm not performing
In love.
in these relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. What about for you, Sky?
Yeah, I'd probably say similar to Cheryl. Mine was setting boundaries because again, I definitely was a people pleaser as well. And then, but I think it was also not feeling guilty for setting them or apologizing for them. So I know there are certain things you have us do in our process, and some guys will be into it, some won't. And I think in the beginning days, I'd want to explain, well, like I want to seem flexible, or it's just for this part or that part. And I think just recognizing that we don't know these people yet. It's okay to have a boundary for what makes us feel safe and comfortable, and it can just be the boundary. There doesn't need to be explanations after it, and you can't control people's reactions or responses. So, not hyper focusing on that and just getting comfortable in that.
Yeah, I
So that
love
was the
that. So
big.
what helped you like step away from the guilt? Because I know there's so many women out there that still feel guilty about setting boundaries and saying no.
Yeah, I think I started just to think about like if I don't get if I let the guilt take over and don't enact it now, like what is it going to feel like later if I let this guy get further along, or I don't push on that and we maybe end up in a relationship? Like it's going to come around at some point.
That's
And
it.
so I think you encouraging us to practice that early, like better to feel maybe that feeling of disappointment now versus you getting super invested later.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so true. I say this all the time that you're gonna have to have discomfort, right, in setting a boundary, and you can choose to do it in the short term and the long term. There's a bit of discomfort when you're setting a boundary, especially with someone that you don't know, which is definitely, very normal. But I would rather you do that now than have to suffer 3 months or 6 months or a year and have to set the boundary of stepping away because things are so intense and potentially abusive that you were forced to, or something catastrophic would happen. So I'm so glad that you have named that and shared that, because that's like one of the biggest things I always hear when it comes to boundaries. One, because we're not taught how to do that.
Yeah.
But I think boundaries keep you safe in dating, and that's why it's a cornerstone of the program. So thank you for sharing that. Sky, what was the hardest part of the program for you?
Um, I think hardest part was, especially the first time around, online dating, sometimes I would fall into the trap of these conversations are boring. It's just very routine questions. I don't want to talk about this stuff. And I would fall into that a lot. And I think you would challenge me to be like, well, it takes two people to engage in a boring conversation. And like, why aren't you maybe
No
bringing up the
shade,
topics?
no shade, girl, no shade.
Yes, yes. So you would just like maybe make it authentic. What are the things you're talking about with your friends, your family, and why can't you infuse that into these conversations? Just because somebody asks you a question, you don't have to mirror that same question back. So the bantering piece, I think is what maybe was difficult at first, but I found once I started to lean into that, it was more enjoyable. So
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, because bantering is a really important part of the work that we do in the program. I think that a lot of, especially women of color, are not really discouraged to flirt and to banter. And I know for sure that the women that I work with are smart and successful and don't really play around, because there's no time or space to play around, and that can affect your reputation professionally and even in life. And so that doesn't necessarily happen. But in love, it's everything. It's actually one of the quickest ways for you to connect with a man. And so one of the ways that we really do teach our clients to make those connections, to have more fun, is through the art of banter. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Cheryl, what about you? What was the hardest part for you?
Bantering, I wasn't going to mention that because I think I'm pretty good at just
You are good
flirting
at it.
as
You
a
are good
performer.
at
I'm
it,
really
girl.
probably too good. But I would actually say that the bantering helps a lot. First and foremost, it really does. It opens the space. I think that was the biggest breakthrough for me, is also opening the space for someone. It wasn't difficult for me, but it's very important. I just wanted to
Yeah.
piggyback on that. But to answer your question, the hardest part for me was blocking and deleting contacts.
Yes. Oh, I
If you
remember, girl. I
remember,
remember. I remember being in one group and I said, everybody go through your phone right now and block anyone that you haven't talked to in like a month or two. And you
oh my
in the
God.
chat, oh shit. That's gonna take a long time.
That's going to take a long time. Yes, yes. It took me weeks because I was going through the alphabet, A, B, C, D.
Wow, girl.
It was, and I think you made it like a personal VIP homework for me to clear out all the contacts before I even set up. I think it was before I even set up
Yeah.
the profile.
Hmm.
It was, man, and I had numbers saved for over a decade from
Mm,
like just, and it was various reasons, like maybe we went to college together, or we're in the same profession, or and I was just giving some reason to excuse to keep their number and stay in touch.
mm,
But it took weeks. And then also the BOL, the best of luck to guys that I just met,
mm,
because I also had this scarcity mindset. I think the transfers over from blocking old friends or boyfriends or flings, as well as the new people like that. Just I have this emotional attachment and having a scarcity mindset, thinking that there's no other guy that's going to be better than this guy. But then you realize, oh my God, all these numbers I had to delete.
Yeah.
It's like the facts were in your face. So I had to just realize that stop clinging to anyone that hasn't proven themselves worthy of having even my attention, let alone my attachment. So
Yeah.
um those two things, just main thing, blocking and deleting. That was difficult for me. But once I got into it and realized this is a lot of people that it opened the space for the right guy to come, or, and that it became my favorite thing to do. The BOL, it became a batch, it became a game.
Yeah.
For me at least, yeah. And it was a game changer.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And by the way, in this program, we have our own language of a lot of different acronyms of a lot of different things that we do in this program. Cheryl, if you will allow me, I would love to talk a little bit more about maybe why you had some of that attachment to men, because this work isn't just about telling women what to do in dating. It's about actually really kind of getting into the depth of the why you do things and healing that inner child. So, Cheryl, why were you doing that?
Ooh, well, there we did the relationship needs, and I think that revealed a lot. I would say because I have grown up without a father in the home,
Yeah,
I
me
was
too, girl. Me too.
seeking,
I'm right there with you.
yeah. So, seeking that male validation. It goes back to what we were talking earlier. Um, the easiest way to get validation is to be flirty and sexy and perform, right? For me, at least, that's what I noticed. And but once I got the attention, I want to keep it. But you've explained several times in your social media posts that that's not a way to keep a guy, right? Actually, you need to stress him out a little bit. But
Uh-huh.
um, I would just be a people pleaser and I would want to stay attached. But I realized the need for attachment to a man was rooted in the disconnection that I experienced in childhood with my father.
Yeah,
So um, I was trying to fill that void with
yeah,
any guy that happened to give me any attention. So
yeah,
that was a huge mind shift that I've been working on for several years. I think with on top of everything that I've been working on over the years, the practices that you put in place for us in your program just made it even more focused and pinpoint, especially in the romantic realm. So that's why I was
yeah.
having the attachment.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that there
Mhm.
are so many women out there. Um, if you look at households in America, 50% of them are single parent, and let's be real, single mother households. And so you and so many other women out there are experiencing the same thing. So I thought it would be really powerful for you to share your story, but also your realization around this and how that can help in your healing process. So I want to thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. It helps. It helps to even talk about it.
yeah, it does. Okay, good. Sky Girl, let's talk about the moment when you knew your partner was the one, right? Because these ladies have actually, both of you have gotten two boyfriends within the program. Which is
Good at what
actually
you
very
do,
normal,
Anwar.
by the way. I always tell clients that there's always going to be generally like a false start in the program, one or two before they find their person. So, talk to me about the moment when you knew that that person was the one for you, Sky.
Yeah, I would say he definitely stood out from the beginning, just someone that I matched with on a lot in terms of shared interests. But I think how I started to know he was the one, he was very curious about my goals and focus areas, and then like became an active participant and supporter. So the things I would share with him, he would follow up and remember and offer to maybe do them together. So maybe like working out together or showing up to support me during an upcoming race because I joined a run club like a lot of people did, and that was becoming like a thing that I really was interested in. And then another thing was normally in my relationships, I'm the one who was always thinking of how can I make special moments I feel like I'm the one thinking in the relationship, and I love that he was proactively thinking of ways to make me happy without me having to ask, and just showing up as a thoughtful partner. I think, without getting too much into your process, on some dates you will recommend maybe doing relationship card or intimacy cards, and I let him know we would do that. And then when I showed up, he had his own questions too. He's like, I came up with a list of questions as well, and I was like, oh wow, like I haven't had that before. So I think him just seeing that he truly listened to me and showed up. Um, Never, if I shared that there might be something that made me uncomfortable, he'd apologize and acknowledge quickly. And if I was sharing feelings, he wouldn't shy away from that conversation. Like he'd want to actively listen and see how he could do better. And that's something I hadn't had before in my relationships as well. The guys would kind of be like, you want to talk about this?" Or like just kind of
Mm,
share that it was too much. So
yeah.
those were the things that set him apart.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And by the way, for the ladies that are not in the program that are listening, we have exact instructions about what to do on every date, what kind of date it should be, what sort of questions you should ask, what sort of things that we want you to do while you're on the date, how we want you to be vulnerable, how much time, how long that date should be, what your intimacy boundaries should be, alcohol boundaries should be, time boundaries should be for each and every date. So there's literally like uh, you know exactly what to do. This is why we call it in the program like this is the process. This is how we teach you how to date so that you know how to date, that you have a framework. So thanks for mentioning that. I'm not giving away all my secrets, girl.
Yes.
um, Cheryl, talk to me about your experience and the moment that you knew.
All right. With this guy, what the moment it made me realize he was the one is that there was no doubt, there was no pushback on the boundaries. I actually felt very, very safe. And when there was time for me to be vulnerable, like in our third and fourth dates, he was asking so many follow-up questions. He was actively listening. He would even ask more questions before I could even think of something to talk about for vulnerability. And then he would turn around and share his vulnerability at the same time. And it was like I felt so connected. And I really felt like it was a warm hug. He jokes that he's like, "You've been waiting to exhale, haven't you?" And I'm like, yes, and I finally am exhaling.
I love it.
So
Amazing.
that's what I felt safe. The
Yeah,
safety is most important. Yeah.
I love that. Was there
In
anything
respect of
that
the boundaries. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. Please, please, please. Sorry to cut you off. Was there anything that surprised you in this program or while you were getting your guy in the program that maybe you weren't necessarily expecting? Sky, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. What would I say? Not surprised. Surprised in the sense that there are very many men in the program that will fall away. So I'm used to that. But I think what surprised me was um how little excuses there were with my guy. Like we were progressing without me having to ask for anything. So both of us
Mm,
would do a lot of travel. And I think he had like a trip coming up for his birthday. And he called me from the road. He called me when he got there. He stayed connected the whole weekend, whereas I would have been okay. We're not anything exclusive, so there's no expectations here. But he was staying connected there. Then vice versa. I took a pretty big international trip, several time zones ahead, and we're making time for it to stay connected via WhatsApp and him checking in. And so there's just no excuses. Whereas there have been other times it's like, oh, I'm busy or I have
yeah.
this or that. So that was really refreshing. And then I would also just say, like, because I know that I was sharing a lot of what was important to me and what I found interesting, like sports and us playing that growing up. I love cooking, career stuff, just being able to bond over those. Some of our dates turned into those activities. And I don't think that would have happened if I just was kind of trying to perform or just give like the cutesy answer. So those
Yeah,
are
you
some
guys
things
went
I
to
was
the
pleasantly
NBA
surprised.
playoffs for one of your
Yeah,
travel dates, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I never thought that could be something that would happen. But that was one of the first things we did in our relationship, and it's a core memory that such a fun trip. So that wouldn't have happened if I was hiding. I made sure to list that on my profile. It's what I was talking about on calls, and that meant manifested in our first trip.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm just so proud of how much space that you've been able to take in your love life and in your relationships, because I know that that has been such a focus area for you in terms of making sure that you are fully seen, and the fact that that's happening and that you're, having these sorts of dates and experiences is just a testament to, your ability to speak your truth and to be seen and heard. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Cheryl, what about you? Any surprises for you while in the program or while in the relationship?
The biggest surprise with this particular relationship is how easy it is. How easy it is. From the very beginning, when he walked up and asked if he could take a seat next to me at the bar, I immediately went into Anwar mode and opened the space and said, sure. And I looked at his feet and he was facing his feet at me and everything. It was just easy. That was the biggest surprise. And then every day we have been talking on the phone every day. I live cross country, and that's a big barrier. It could be a big barrier. But he just said, okay, you just tell me when, and I'll be there, right? Like he's just happy to
Yeah.
travel across country to visit. And I'm always excited. Matter of fact, he's coming to visit again
Oh,
today,
that's
and I'm so excited.
well, girl,
I
we gotta
can't
hurry up,
believe it.
girl. I don't want to be holding you back from your man, honey.
Go, girl. It's fine. It's fine. What I also like is that he's very upfront, and he says that about me too. He said he appreciates the no nonsense. So the
Mhm.
boundaries, he appreciated the boundary. Look, right? He's like, I told you. I can see it in your face.
I mean,
Yes,
girl, yes. Relationship
when they're
ready men
grown.
love boundaries.
Yes, yes. He actually said that he can tell that I'm someone I'm not to be played with, and he likes that. He's more attracted to that. And um just the fact that he's so consistent. Most of, if not all of the other relationships I've had in the past were very inconsistent, and it's like a guessing game.
Mhm.
But with this guy, with him, there's no question. Matter of fact, I find myself trying to come up with some kind of question, and I need to stop that. That's something that you're still supporting me on, because he's been very consistent, and that's a surprise for me, and it's new, compared to how my, father was and every other man in my life. There was always a
Yeah,
question, but
yeah.
with this guy, it's no doubt. It's very consistent, very reassuring. So very, very good.
I love that for you, girl. I was about to say, if you keep on going, girl, I'm gonna have to shut you up about how amazing
I
this
know I
man
run too much,
is.
talk too much, and
No, no,
he's
no.
great.
I
He's
love
great.
it.
He's
I love
great.
it. I'm happy for you. I'm super happy for all of you. I was about to say, there are so many people that are getting into relationships in the program nowadays. I cannot just have one person come onto the podcast anymore when it comes to these, journey focused podcasts, because it used to be every other day, but now it's turning into every day another woman's getting into an amazing relationship. So for the listeners out there, we're gonna do more panel. Episodes, just because there's so many women that are getting amazing, great results, but also want to share their results with you. With that said, though, ladies, please, for anyone that is listening who might be on the fence about the program, what would you tell them about the program, and if they should, uh, you know, enroll or not enroll? Skye, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I would say I to take the leap, and I think maybe it could be a bit nerve-wracking, but I think just leveraging the resources that Anwar puts out on his socials and on his site is what helped me book the consultation call. And then why I've stayed is I really like the community of women. Like, so I would often try to crowdsource to my friends, like, what should I do, this or that? And I was finding some friends will give you advice that is not going to serve you later. And so it could be good to rely on the coaches, women who are going through the same journey that you are, and get it, the boundaries piece, prioritizing yourself. So I really enjoyed having that community. Seeing how you're like how you've expanded, like you have even more coaches now. You're visiting ladies in different cities, so you might get lucky. And if Amar comes to your city, he shared some of his pasta with me at the Houston meetup. And like I got to meet people in person. So I think just having that support, and especially with the VIP access boxering, Anwar had to coach me like, use it. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to the coach. Why are you holding things in? And so it also just helped me grow in asking for help, not acting like I'm too much. And that more frequent contact helped me lessen my anxiety and like just be even more successful in my process and within my relationships. So that's why I would say to do it for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, now I have six coaches that are working under me, and I will be in New York in 2 weeks, and then in October we will be in Atlanta. So late October. So yes, we travel quite a bit to see all of the clients in person. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Sky, for sharing that. Cheryl, what about you? What would you say to some of the listeners out there? Because you were one of them a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I was one of the just listening to the lives on Instagram, and then finally started doing the podcast. I would say, trust your instincts. Go ahead, and if you have to take the steps like I did and listen to the podcast, exhaust all the resources that are available for free.
Yes.
And if there's still questions, then book that call. And that call is free too. And then you'll realize, okay, again, it took a minute for me to make the decision.
Yeah.
So it's okay to take your time. There's no pressure. That's one thing I really do appreciate about you, Anwar. You never really pressure anyone into any of this. I mean, it's your own life, it's your own love life, and if you want to be the CEO of your own love life, you got to make some decisions and
Yes,
sometimes
ma'am.
some investments. So it's worth it, I'll say. If even if you don't find a guy within the next 2-3 months, like you one would hope, you learn so much more about yourself. And I've fallen in love with myself, and it's been a beautiful journey with just the program of becoming more confident in myself. So the relationship is a byproduct, or yeah, it's a byproduct of it. It's not really the goal. It's actually the side effect.
Yeah,
Speaking as a
100%.
pharmacist.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Well, Cheryl, Sky, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experiences with the listeners out there. I so appreciate it. And ladies out there, thank you so much for listening. I always think it's important to hear from people who have gone through it. So if any of this has resonated with you and you're like, let me try things out, don't hesitate to book a call. And no shade, girl, book it now because the prices are increasing. Sorry, we're offering new and different things and more support each and every quarter. So it's necessary. But so please run, don't walk, book the call. And with that said, I will see you all later. Bye bye.